Can you estimate how much money could have been made by this group with 40 million credit cards and that personal information on them?
There's really an entire ecosystem which has evolved whereby there are entities that will steal the credit cards, there are entities that will then broker the sale, there are other groups that will buy those credit cards and use them for fraudulent activity. So this was likely the group that was solely focused on stealing those credit cards. They would then sell them for a few dollars a card.
What about the methods to get that malware onto the system in the first place? How did they accomplish that?
That piece of it is quite telling and quite interesting. In the case of the Target breach, they actually used credentials which had been provided to the HVAC vendor, the heating and air conditioning vendor. I think that there are really three things that are concerning about how this breach came to be in the first place. One, the fact that the target network wasn't appropriately segregated. The fact that the credentials that were given to the servicer of the heating systems, those credentials were able to be used to reach all the way into the back-end system where the point of sales terminal was. That's concerning. Two, that proper, strong authentication wasn't in place. And lastly, the fact that there weren't proper detective controls. I find that many companies, whether they're retailers or otherwise, tend to focus solely on the preventive side. Like, we're going to put controls in place to stop the breach. The unfortunate reality of the world that we live in is you're going to be breached at some point to some degree. So we need to also focus on the detective side of the equation.
What's the message to consumers who use their credit cards for so many transactions at all these retailers, and really that's not going to stop overnight?
This was the bricks and mortar attack, the one that we are comfortable with, the one that we think is secure and safe. And for the consumer, there isn't a great deal that they can do. They really have to rely on the security of the retailer, but obviously they can be cautious and observant and be checking their credit cards, their statements to make sure there isn't fraudulent activity.
Do you have any idea how much this breach cost Target in terms of money lost and what they've had to do to try to remediate it?
All estimates that I've seen are conservatively putting this over $1 billion because we need to look at it from direct costs and then also reputational damage.